What's up, everybody? This is Eric from GameShampoo.com. Today is Sunday, December 8th. Yesterday was Spike TV's VGX Awards, previously known as the VGAs, but they're trying to do a little bit of a rebranding kind of thing. And they did a big 3-hour stream on Spike.com, GameTrailers.com, and a bunch of mobile apps and devices and all kinds of stuff. And I believe tomorrow, Monday, they're going to be doing a pre-recorded 1-hour television program on Spike TV. Can't tell you the time exactly, but if you want to find all that stuff, it's archived on the internet, it's on YouTube, it's on Spike's website and all that stuff. But if you want to spare yourself 3 hours of Joel McHale making a spectacle of himself, then I've got all the announcements and all the awards and all the winners and stuff like that right here for you. So I'm just going to recap everything that happened at the awards show. 3 hours is a really long time to be watching something like that, especially something as painfully awkward as that. And there's usually some really good news that comes out of this show, and this year was no exception. So I figured I would sum it up in a shorter, more convenient, slightly less painfully awkward way, hopefully. So let's start with the Game of the Year. Overall Game of the Year was Grand Theft Auto 5. Not a huge surprise there, but other nominees included BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us for PlayStation 3, as well as Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U. So there were some really good games in the running, and well, it's not really a big surprise that Spike chose, and Spike's viewers and all those guys chose GTA 5 as Game of the Year. You'll have to stay tuned to find out what the actual Game of the Year was. Okay, guys, we're posting our Game of the Year stuff right now. We've already got a 3DS Game of the Year up and a Vita Game of the Year up. Monday we're doing Xbox One and Xbox 360. Tuesday we're doing PS4 and PS3. And we're just going to continue for the next 2 weeks or so. So we've got a lot of stuff coming up. There's the mandatory plug. Stay tuned to GameShampoo.com/magazine. Find out what we thought of this year's crop of games, because there's a lot of really good stuff. So overall Game of the Year, GTA 5. Best PC game went to Gone Home. Best Nintendo game went to Super Mario 3D World. It's interesting, I think, how they call it Best Nintendo game, and then they have a Best PlayStation game later on, implying that 3DS and Wii U games are eligible for the same category. I'm not super sure how that worked, but Super Mario 3D World won that category. The best PlayStation game was, unsurprisingly, The Last of Us. The best Xbox game was Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which is also on the PC, FYI. Not sure how that game did, but you should totally check it out. It's really, really good. And the best handheld game was The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. The Best Indie Game award, again, went to Gone Home. Best Casual Game was Animal Crossing New Leaf. Gotta agree with you there. Best Action Adventure was Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. The Best Sports Game award went to NBA 2K14. The Best Mobile Game award went to Plants vs. Zombies 2 It's About Time. Best Driving Game award went to Forza Motorsport 5. The Best Shooter award went to BioShock Infinite. The Best RPG was Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. The Best Fighting Game award went to Injustice: Gods Among Us, which is actually a little surprising to me because I think Killer Instinct is actually really, really good on the Xbox One. The Best DLC went to Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which kind of intrinsically makes no sense because that game wasn't DLC at all. It was a $15 standalone game, so I don't know, I guess by DLC they kind of mean like smaller games or DLC, but Far Cry Blood Dragon was not DLC, that was a standalone thing, but that won the award for Best DLC anyway, and that was a really good game, so check it out if you haven't, I guess. Best Voice Actor went to Troy Baker as Joel from The Last of Us, good choice. Best Voice Actress, Ashley Johnson as Ellie in The Last of Us, another really good choice. Studio of the Year was Naughty Dog. As you can kind of tell by now, they really swept those awards. Character of the Year went to the Lutece twins from BioShock Infinite. The best soundtrack went to GTA 5. and the best song in a game went to Will the Circle Be Unbroken, which was featured in Bioshock Infinite. Finally, the most anticipated game of next year, can't say I can really argue with them, was Titanfall on the Xbox One, Xbox 360, and PC. So those are all of the award winners. Got that out of the way, and now we can get to the stuff that people are really looking forward to, the news. So, Telltale Games and Gearbox are working on a Borderlands kind of collaboration project. It's not going to be a traditional Borderlands game. Telltale is the developer, and they're modeling it after the kind of episodic model that has been really successful for them before. So, based on that kind of basic information, you can kind of infer that it'll probably be a 5-episode thing, and that your choices during the game will affect the story and the ending of the story as it all plays out in the later episodes. And Telltale has confirmed that it's going to be another really choice-driven kind of game. But they are using models from Gearbox. They're not using their own internal tech, or not necessarily 100% using their own internal tech. And so that means that the game should be a little bit prettier than maybe Telltale stuff has tended to be lately, which is good. And the game will kind of... They haven't really said for sure, but I feel like it'll kind of expand upon the story of Handsome Jack. One of the characters that they showed off looks suspiciously like a younger version of Handsome Jack. So no story details yet, at least nothing firm, but that's kind of the speculation right now, is that it'll touch on Handsome Jack, and it'll be coming out next year. Telltale is also working on a Game of Thrones game, which we reported a couple days before the VGX Awards, but it was just speculation at that point, and now it's a final thing. We don't really have much to go on aside from that. We've got a logo, so that's cool, and really that's it. We're not completely sure if they're going to be taking inspiration from the books or the movie or the TV show, or where they're going to be getting that from. If I had to guess, I would say probably the TV show. But yeah, there's plenty of time to find out, and that is also scheduled for next year. So Telltale has been pretty busy. They've got The Walking Dead Season 2 coming up now in December, supposedly. Still no firm date on that, though, so that's kind of hazy. And we've got The Wolf Among Us Episode 2 coming out pretty soon as well, which is really exciting. That first episode, really good. We have a review up of that on GameShampoo. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is coming out on February 21st, and Cranky Kong will be a playable character. Reggie Fils-Aimé showed up to kind of announce that and play the game a little bit with everybody. Joel McHale seemed a little baffled by the whole thing. But I think it looks pretty good. I think that game seems like a lot of fun. Played it at Comic-Con, and we put up a video on our channel of some gameplay from the single-player version of that, although it does go into multiplayer co-op as well. You can play as Cranky, DK, Diddy Kong, or, and now I'm totally blanking on the name of the girl. He plays the girl one from Donkey Kong Country 3 as well. Tomb Raider Definitive Edition is coming to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and this is essentially the PC version of Tomb Raider with all the DLC packed in, and it is going to be releasing in January. So, basically that means better graphics, fancy hair, and a lot of multiplayer map packs that nobody really bought, as far as I'm aware of, on the PC. It seemed like the multiplayer was really barren. And basically this is Square Enix's way of milking that game for a little bit more money, since it was disappointing at only like 4 million plus sales or something like that, and they expected it to do over 6. So this is kind of their way of hyping people up for that. I am definitely going to be buying that game again. If you haven't played Tomb Raider yet, which I know a lot of people have, but it is a really, really good action-adventure game. It's super solid, and if you have an Xbox One or a PS4, there's not a ton out in January, February, that kind of area for you to really play, so comes highly recommended. Alan Wake developers Remedy showed off the new game. For some reason I keep wanting to say Quantum Conundrum. that's definitely not it. They showed off their new game, Quantum Break, for the Xbox One, which, as they revealed yesterday, is basically a shooter with some wonky time mechanics, but very much grounded in that one specific reality, much like Alan Wake or Max Payne. They all have this very specific mood and kind of tone to them, and this one feels a little bit like something you might see in like a TV procedural kind of show. So it'll be interesting to see how they integrate everything with the television show that they have planned as well. And they also announced a new game for iOS called Agents of Storm, which is kind of like a pocket-sized action game. Let's see, Elijah Wood is going to be starring in Double Fine's Broken Age, so that was their big announcement. The Division showed off a new trailer, and still looks super cool. Let's see, what else? Respawn is thinking about a Titanfall beta. Nothing definitive yet, but you would expect to release that big. They should probably do a beta, right? No Man's Sky was announced by Hello Games. These are the guys who made Joe Danger and Joe Danger 2, and their next game looks way, way bigger than any of that stuff. I guess Joe Danger and Joe Danger 2 made them a lot of money or something. But in case you haven't seen the trailer yet, you should look it up right now. But it is a space game, which is entirely procedurally generated, so think Starbound or something like that. You've got planets that are procedurally generated, and the wildlife and the trees and everything on those planets is procedurally generated. Basically everything in the entire game is procedurally generated. And it's an MMO, so you can get into a ship on the ground, fly up through orbit, and you never have to go through any loading screens or anything like that. It seems like it's going to be totally open world, so you can get in your ship and like fly from one world to another, and interact with all the other players who are flying around and doing whatever it is exactly that you do in this game. The trailer doesn't really show off much in the way of mechanical stuff, but you can swim and you can fly, so there's definitely that, and everybody seems really, really excited about it. I'm not 100% on board with all that stuff yet because it's a minute-and-a-half trailer and they don't really show off a lot of mechanical stuff, so it's still kind of a mystery how all that stuff is going to work, but there's definitely a lot of promise there. And if you think back to when BioWare announced Mass Effect for Xbox 360, it's kind of like being able to fly around all the different planets and land the Mako on all the different planets and just drive around and cruise for a while. And it almost reminds me of that a little bit, and that was one of the things that I really missed from Mass Effect 1 when I was playing Mass Effect 2 and 3. So, definitely looks interesting, and we'll see how it all pans out. And one more small announcement was that Dying Light from the Dead Island developers will run on PS4 and 1080p. So, that's cool. So yeah, that's basically everything they talked about at the awards. All the award winners and all the different categories and all the big crazy announcements that they made. So let us know what you think of the awards and the announcements and all that stuff in the comments. Head over to GameShampoo.com/magazine for more. And stay tuned. Thanks for watching.